So I think you all have made my job extremely easy because I have the pleasure of introducing my boss, but I think everyone knows who Madam Mayor is, and I just wanted to personally just thank the Madam Mayor for just your love, your commitment, and your passion to all communities. And when I reached out and said we were having this event, she said, let me move a few things around, and so she wanted to be here to show her love and support for you women. And so I would always just say, I remember one of the key songs that you had played that's always in my head whenever we interact, and it is that you're always on fire. So thank you for being on fire for our city and for our women. So without further ado, she's on fire.
Well, thank you, everybody. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Well, let me just say how honored I am to be here, and I want to thank Quincy for the invitation and all the men and women who work here with you. I know you've had the opportunity to meet some of my team, but let me introduce them. Jennifer Porter, who is the director of the Mayor's Office on Women's Policy Initiatives. Faith Gibson-Hubbard, who is the director of our Thrive by Five, that focuses on women and babies and families from 0 to the age 5. And Director Booth told me that we were having a Women's Empowerment Summit, but in our administration, we like to think every day is about empowering women. We know when we support women, we change families. And there are a lot of families in our city who need strong leadership. And we want to make sure that we're meeting D.C. residents wherever D.C. residents are. We also know that in our city, and we have learned over the last several years, especially with new person in the White House, a lot of challenges, but especially challenges, let's put it mildly, a lot of challenges to the things that we believe in as Washingtonians. And the city has changed. I've seen the city change in my lifetime. I was born and raised here. My family, 5 generations of Washingtonians, now more, who are very focused on how we have a city that grows for sure, but also has a place for us and for the people who came before us, who really built the city. And so that is why I ran for mayor, so that we could continue to grow Washington, but preserve all of the things that are so important to us. One key value that has come out of all of our discussions over the last 5 years is that we have to make a way for people who need a second chance to get a second chance, for people who need third and fourth chances to get third and fourth chances, because that's what we know. And what I like to remind everybody across Washington, D.C., is that you are our sisters, mothers, neighbors, cousins, friends. You didn't drop down from the moon. You are us. You are our neighbors and friends. And so what we have to do in our city is make sure we continue to remind everybody of the role that they can play in making sure that you are able to come home successfully, and rejoin your families, taking leadership in your families and the rest of your lives. So we know that that's not always easy, and we know if the path was, assured, Quincy and I would have a much easier job. But what we have done is looked across all of D.C. government and asked of all of our agencies, what can you do to make sure our residents can come home? Now, if we don't do that, we lose a lot of talented people. Right? I'm looking at a lot of talented people who can work, who can be productive, who could be active in their kids' lives and their families' lives. And we cannot afford to lose any productive people in our city. You know how many people live here now? 700,000 people. That's growth of over 100,000 in just 15 years. That's a lot of people have moved and stayed in Washington. And we will get to over 1 million people in D.C. in your lifetime. That is how fast our city is growing and changing. And that's why it's so important that each of us locks in on the thing that we can do for the rest of our lives to support our families and get those things done. Part of our efforts have been one of Director Booth's key initiatives is to create a Ready Center. I hope that you've heard of the Ready Center. So that's everybody exiting D.C. jail goes through that center to make sure every benefit that you qualify for, you are linked to before you leave. So that includes making sure you have your IDs. That includes making sure you're signed up for your health benefits. That includes making sure you know how to get any medication that you need. That also includes any links that we have to housing and employment. Now, those things, we hope, Director Booth, now you correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm not wrong. That work starts even before you get to the Ready Center, right, Director Booth? Okay. So you are thinking about all of those things. Now, I wish I had in my back pocket free housing and free jobs. You didn't see me walk in with that in my back pocket, did you? But what we do, though, from a big level, is make sure that we're generating and creating more jobs in D.C. and creating more housing opportunities. So when you get out and you start looking, that there's just more supply of all of those units. We also make sure that all of our programs, including our TANF program, is providing emergency monetary assistance for families. And where we have access to vouchers and public housing, that those are being distributed fairly as well. We also have some homelessness prevention efforts that in some cases can help a family member if you are temporarily staying with a family member to prevent homelessness. So we want to make sure that you are taking advantage of all of that information in the work that you are doing to be prepared to exit. We started the Ready Center with only our residents who were in D.C. jail. We have been able to expand it to include residents coming home from the Bureau of Prisons as well, where we've learned that our residents are getting almost no services in the Bureau of Prisons. So here, back home in D.C., we know that we can help better. We do have some subsidized employment programs. At Project Empowerment, where for a limited period of time, we can help you get experience. Some of you may have a business idea. Anybody have a business idea? Fantastic, because we also have a program called Aspire, which will help you with business plans, with licensing and registration, and getting your business started. So start thinking about those ideas as well. And we continue to push on our private sector partners. I think you know a couple of years ago we banned the box in D.C., which means employers can't ask you about any periods of incarceration or conviction until after an offer has been made and they're going through their due diligence. And we enforce that law through our Office of Human Rights. So I know you wanted to stay focused on that as well. Now, how many of you are moms? Fantastic. I wanted to call that out because the reason I invited Dr. Hubbard to join us is because we have resources for moms and babies, and we put it on our Thrive by 5 website. So you probably feel like when you get home, you have some catching up to do, right? Right? And so you want to start thinking about all of those activities that will help you reunite with your families and especially your children. And many of those activities are free, okay? I've learned this in the last 17 months with my little baby, Miranda. And I see all of the DC public libraries, parks and recreation activities that have free story times and reading times and swimming, all of those different activities that you can spend directly with your children that are offered free across Washington, D.C. So will you think about that with me? Will you think about that with me? Because one thing we know for sure is when we have that enrichment time with our little kids, it benefits the bond between mom and baby so much, but more than that, when they get in school and when they are in school, all of the new words that they have learned are going to help them excel. You know what's happening in DC public schools right now? The kids are winning. I'm just telling you, they are winning. And so we just, for example, we broke for the first time 51,000 kids in DC public schools since 2006. That's a big number. Parents are voting with their feet and choosing schools in their neighborhoods and all the enriching programs that come with all of that. So what I hope that you will all do is make sure that you're connecting with the school community. And what we expect of every person that works in DC government is that they are treating you with respect, okay? So you don't have to walk into the school with your head hanging low. Don't do that. Just walk in and say you're connecting and you want to connect with what's going on with your child. Will you do that for me? Okay, we can do that. We're gonna do just fine. Same for medical care, right? Don't we want all of our women to be well women in Washington, D.C.? All right. So you can't be a well woman if you aren't checking in with your doctor, okay? And one thing we know for sure is that well women have healthy babies. And we have got to turn around something in our city of not having pregnancies that are going full term that don't give babies the start that they need. So one thing that we can do is check in with our doctors. The other thing that we can do about checking in with our doctors is to make sure our mental health is where it should be. And we have a problem, not just in our city, all over, that sometimes there's stigma involved with people saying, you know, I'm not feeling well. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling anxious. I have a substance abuse issue that I need help with. But let me just tell you, that's the reason why we have 97% of people insured in Washington, and that you can have a primary care doctor. And you don't have to wait to call 911 or go to an emergency room. You can go to your doctor and talk to your doctor about everything that's going on with your mental and physical health. Now, will you do that? Now, this one's a hard one because I know some of you not going to do that. Will you do that for me? All right, so if we do that, then we know that we will be well women all the way around. And well women can take fantastic care of their families. Let me just, we talked a little bit of just about us as women, but let me tell you a little bit about what's going on in our city. I told you about our public schools. You know that the city is growing. You know that we just won a World Series, right? We haven't won a World Series since the 1920s. In the 1940s, the Grays won in the Negro Leagues, but Senators haven't won since the 20s. We don't know what's going on with those Redskins, but the Washington Mystics, they won too. But I say all that to say that people are feeling more than good about our town. They're moving here, they're staying here, they're starting businesses here. But that doesn't mean we don't have a lot of vulnerable communities of people who need a lot of help. And one group of people we're really concerned about is our young men. Our young men have too many guns. They're getting into too many conflicts that could be resolved with people talking it out, but are instead being resolved with gunfire. And so we know that women have a role in helping to change that mentality with our young men. And I hope that you'll think about ways that you can tell us how to help young men in trouble too. And I think if we do all of those things, we're going to be on our way to a very successful start. So that's why I'm here to talk about women's empowerment. I've been very blessed in my life, and I know it. I count among my blessings, a family that really gave me a head start in life. And I recognize that everybody doesn't have that. But as long as we're living and breathing and taking fresh air, we can turn things around in our own lives. And so that's what I'm counting on you to do. So I think I have a few minutes for some questions. So I'll take a few questions before I have to get out to another one. Yes. It's called the Ban the Box. Well, first of all, the initial employment action shouldn't ask you about a record at all. And after an offer is made, they can ask you up to how many years, Quincy? It can go back an unlimited time. Unless it's expunged, and we do offer some opportunities for expungement for certain convictions. We have another bill before the council to get some other, especially marijuana offenses, expunged as well. But when you get the opportunity about expungement, ask the folks here about if your situation qualifies for expungement. Yes, so UDC has two programs. The community college program is free. Most of the workforce in community college is free. Now, if you're going to the four-year college, there is a fee. It is reasonable, but it is a fee. And I'm going to make sure Quincy has you talking to the right person that tells you all you need to know about UDC. What's that? UDC Community College in the Workforce Development Program? Yes.
I have a question in regards to domestic violence and the turnaround time as far as living the arrangements for the family. For myself, for example,
Yep.
And I have a 10-year-old. I don't want him to be able to go through another setback or trauma. Is that enough out here? But what would be the turnaround time, or what initiatives or what programs are out there that can help us to get living, raised in living quarters without having to go into a shelter and traumatize that child again?
Well, we do partner with a number of very high-quality shelters for women. Most of the locations are not public locations, so that you can feel safe in going to those. They're smaller, usually communities of, I would say, no more than 10 families that are sheltered there until more permanent housing can be found. So I would feel very comfortable referring you to one of those locations. Thank you. Yep. Yes. You're welcome. You're welcome.
America period is once we do our time, even if we do committed crime, once we do our time, that we're sentenced to, and we successfully complete the road probation, with that charge that you were held accountable for, that we gave you what you wanted for, would it ever be like just purposely dropped off your record? Because why should we have to go and get our records expunged after we've given DC the time to age for? We completed parole successfully, we completed parole probation successfully, but yet we're still held accountable for that charge. Regardless of where it goes, expungement can take years for some records. You know what I'm saying? And we leaving here, this is supposed to be a rehabilitation for us. And yet when we go to the street, they're still looking at us like we're not rehabilitated. You know what I'm saying? Like we're still a criminal or a menace to society. Once we've given y'all our records,
I actually do think that we are, even at the federal level, there's been a new law passed called the Second Chance Act. In D.C., there's been quite a lot. And so, frankly, I think that for nonviolent offenses, I think that the country is moving in that way. I think violent offenses, to be perfectly honest, I think there's a lot more work to be done. Yes.
Yes, thanks for coming here today. I'd like to thank you for thinking about the have-nots and not only the haves. That you think about the have-nots and let you keep value of money. But I'd like to know, will you be running again so I can vote for you?
Well, you do know that there was only one mayor for life. There's only one. It won't be me, but there's only one. But in all seriousness, thank you for that. I'm not term limited. I'm in my second term. As long as my team gives me fresh ideas and the people want me, we're going to keep on working for the people of D.C. So I'm going to count them on this side for three. 1, 2, and 3. Okay.
Okay. My question is, first off, I appreciate the record movement for all the programming you have here, because out of all prisons I've been to or jails, I've never encountered something like this, and it's amazing. The programs and the work of officers out of this world.
Thank you.
My question concerns that I'm a Maryland resident, and with the Ready Center, is there any way that I would be able to eventually go to the Ready Center when I come home and be able to get any type of offices or be able to go to Morga if I were to become a DC resident and incorporate my life here instead, like I could relocate to DC instead of Maryland?
So the quick answer to that is yes. Thank you for your note that you stated about the programming, but as it relates to the Ready Center, yes. So we have several people that started potentially in D.C. and then moved over to Virginia or Maryland, and so we work closely as far as the Ready Center team with the cross jurisdictions to make sure that you have all the services that you need. So.
It's amazing that you all come to love and show your sense of home, and I would love to be a part of the community around here.
Right here, yes.
If there's any kind of employers that are exempt from this law, like smaller businesses, for example.
I don't think so. Can somebody give me the answer to that? I think it applies to every size employer.
And is there a way to kind of combat that? Because I know me personally, I'm a Maryland resident, and banning the box law has been in effect for like, I think, over a year, definitely. And I know that personally I've applied for jobs, and I've still seen the check box, and I've still been asked the question.
So we should, Quincy, have a OHR representative come in, but we have a human rights law in D.C. that is much more stringent than anything in Maryland. And what that human rights office does is enforce the ban the box law. And so we have a number of investigators, for example. If we get a complaint that we find out about, then we investigate and enforce. There was one more over here. Yes. Hi.
You're welcome.
You guys would want to help obtain my license, pay for, well, I pay for it, but of course, helping reduce the ticket. And also, obtain my job. I use your computers at Morgan in order to obtain a position as an assistant property manager with the firm. And now I'm able for help so I can get back into the community, expedited. I'm here for short-term living and so I will not lose my position any longer. My daughter is third year here at Howard University. She does so I am trying to stay affiliated to this community and not just become another.
Okay, so what can I do? right. Well, I appreciate you sharing all of those steps that you have taken. And I know you'll continue to take the steps that you need to get back home. Okay. And I'm going to take 3 over here, and then I'll take you the last one. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Who was over here? Yep.
Okay, so I had a question about the police department, right? When you're getting arrested as women, I'm talking about the men.
Okay, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about the police department as women.
Okay.
I don't think the men supposed to arrest you because they'd be kind of rough with us, you know? And I just wanted to know, is it a law against that? Or I know they wear body cams, and it's like they still have the jurisdiction to touch us or to be rough with us, to arrest us. I don't think it's right. You know, just because we are arrested, we still should be treated as women.
You absolutely should be treated.
But we are not.
Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned the body cams. Well, first of all, we have more, when you look at police departments around the nation, you don't always see the department reflect the population. We're very proud in D.C. that our department is diverse, and that includes having many women on patrol and in leadership. So any of our officers has arrest power for anybody. Okay, so it doesn't like the, no. But they all have to treat everybody constitutionally, fairly, respectfully, and that's what we expect. Anytime you have a concern, we have an independent police board that reviews complaints from citizens and that issues a report independent of me and the council. And I can at any time review police body camera. What we see is that that both is a check on the officers and it's a check on the community, quite frankly. So everybody is respected in the process, or should be. And if not, there's always a bad egg in any profession. There could be a bad egg, and we want to get rid of bad eggs because they have guns and badges, and we really can't tolerate any bad eggs in the police. Yes, right here. Tablets, okay.
And basically it's e-commerce that allow us to apply for jobs while we're here, and they know that we're in it, and we can convert with them within the tablet. My question is that the tablet can do that much more. And we're just wondering when the mayor's office or going to allow Mr. Booth to expand that variety of things that the tablet can do. Like we can have email service on there with our families, we can email with our attorneys and stuff like that, that other jails we have within the United States, but it haven't gotten here in DC.
Okay, well, I'll ask Mr. Booth to give me a recommendation. Just so you know, that's not usually something I would decide. That Quincy and his team will kind of outline what the best practices are to keep everybody safe, keep you safe, keep all of our officers safe, keep visitors safe. And so what those recommendations are, we will look forward to. Who was the third person? You were the third person, yes. Thank you. To help me feel accomplished? Absolutely. When we have DC residents working and fulfilling their life goals and being connected in the lives of their families, that makes me feel accomplished. But I know we still have a lot to do, right? And that's why I'm fighting so hard for housing. Because I didn't ask this question, but I'm sure for a lot of you, your housing security is heavy on your mind. And then your job security is heavy on your mind. So those two things, I know it takes for you to make it. And sometimes, you gotta crawl before you walk. And so that may mean that you have a family member that's going to be helpful, or it may mean that to keep your family safe, you have to have a landing spot and shelter. It may mean all of those things. But my job is to make sure at the end that we're producing enough housing that you can work towards getting that, and that you have a job that'll help you pay for it. Okay. This is the last question.
I'd like to thank you for being here. One day I'd like to see my daughter in a place like you.
Thank you.
I have two quick questions. If I wrote a grant proposal for a nonprofit for abused children with a felony conviction, would I be able to get funding?
I don't know.
And the second question is, if I wanted to be an advocate for outreaching to young women by using my story to give back to the community, where would I turn to?
I think that, first of all, you asked two really good questions. So the first population you wanted to support was who again? Children with
Abused children.
Abused children. So what I would probably start with is asking Director Porter's office to think about our Commission on Women and the number of organizations that we have vetted and work with and know are effective to connect you with and see which ones we think are working best. And I would actually suggest that you start there before starting your own nonprofit. Find one that you trust, that you believe in, and that you think is being effective. And I would see how your skills and passion and ideas work with them. Then after you get some experience with seeing how an organization is run, after you earning a paycheck and all of those good things, then I would think about starting my own nonprofit once I got some experience. All right, ladies, thank you. I'm counting on you.